Hi guys, welcome to this video. So in this video guys, we are going to be looking at a JavaScript question which is coming from the February-March 2018 IT paper 4, and this is from question number 4. So Alice wants customers to be able to create an account with 3 side holidays. She wants them to create the account using a web page. So using the file account.html, create a web page to meet the following requirements, and these are the requirements that have been specified. So probably let me just do this. So we have the requirements that have been specified here. When the generate username button is clicked, a username for the customer is supposed to be generated below that button. Okay, so the customer username must be their full name, their surname, and the year of their birth joined together. So again, here you'll be performing string concatenation, like that is joining two or more values together. So when the submit button is clicked, the page must be rewritten to display only one of the following messages. So if the passwords match, then you display this message. Okay, your password has been set, and if they do not match, then you display this message. Your password did not match, please try again. And then you're going to add some comments to annotate its requirement, and then save your web page as this one. Okay, so we'll do the first part before we move on to part B, and the last part, which is telling us to annotate each requirement, which means every single point here we need to write some comment about what is happening. Okay, so let's go to where we have our files. So our files are here. I'm just gonna open up this and then open this. I'm gonna use Dreamweaver. You can use any text editor you have, Notepad, or although I don't recommend Notepad, but you can use Web Expression, Front Page, basically any HTML editor is going to allow you to do this. Okay, so the text is too small, so I'm gonna just enlarge it a little bit. So edit, preferences, and then let's try to change the font maybe to 14. Okay, yeah, so we have our font. So the other thing that maybe we can do is to check in design view what our existing web page looks like. So you have 3 side holiday, your first name here, surname, and date of birth. When we enter the 3 pieces of information here in this format for the date, when you click on generate username, it should join the 3 information and then display them below the button. Okay, and then when we enter the password, when we submit the password, if the password matches, then it should tell us that the password matched, but this should be displayed, the information should be displayed on a new page. And then if they do not match, then it should tell us that they do not match. So let's start with the first part first of all. How do we extract what the user gives us here and here and here, get this information, join it together, and then display it at the bottom of this button here? Now, there are concepts here that you must follow, guys. The first concept is, how do you get information from a text box and store it in a variable? Okay. The second concept is, how do you join 2 or more values together? And the third concept is, how do you post or send or print information on a specific point? Because they have told us that, you know, we're supposed to print it below the button, the generate username button. And if you remember, if you watched my previous video, if you haven't yet watched it, please, I encourage you to watch my previous video on the introduction to JavaScript or web programming for the web. I did explain in the video about the 2 types of output statements that you encounter in JavaScript. So in this case, we are using one of the output which allows us to print on a specified point. Okay, so this is the concept that we're going to follow. So quickly, let's go back to let's go to split view maybe, or maybe let's go to code view, and then let's write some code. Okay, so the first thing that I want to do, I want to create some JavaScript code, probably right after the body tag here. I want to create some JavaScript code, so I'm just gonna say script and then enter the script. So here where it says script, this is where I'm gonna put my JavaScript code. Now I want to create a function. Now the function is gonna be based on the user generate username button. This is the behavior that should happen. If I click on the button, something should happen, and this is what JavaScript does actually. So if I go to this button, just click there, it takes me to the code, okay, and it tells me that, hey, you are creating a button, but on this button there is this function or this on-click method, okay, or event if you want. What happens is that when this button is clicked, it calls a function called user. Okay, now this function user doesn't yet exist. Okay, we just calling a function that doesn't exist, so which means in our JavaScript code we need to create this function, and then this generate username is actually the name of the button, or what is displayed on the button there. Okay, so you come here in your JavaScript code, and I'm gonna create a function inside here. I'm gonna say function, and I'm gonna call this function as user, just the name of what you have here. So user, open close bracket, like that. So this is the way you create a function, guys, in Java. Now, a JavaScript, not Java, JavaScript. Now, the idea with the function is it's just a group of code, or a block of code which is going to be performing some function. So in this case, our function is just going to be getting the name, the first name, and we store the first name in a variable. So there are two ways that you can get the first name. One of the ways is just get the first name, create a variable. I'll call my variable as fname. Maybe let's call it first name. Let's just say first name equal to, and then I can use the ID for that. So the ID is for the first name is fname. So I can say fname dot value. Okay, so what this does, and then you can put a semicolon to close the statement. What this does, it gets the value of whatever the user types in here and stores it in a variable called first name. Now this is one method that you can do that. The second method, let's get for the last name. So you can say last name is equal to document dot get element by ID, and specify the ID as I don't know, the ID s name, which is surname. Okay, so the ID s name is this one. Okay, so s name, and then this one dot value. Okay, so you get the value. So there are two ways. So you can just say the ID name dot value, or document get element by ID, then specify the ID and then dot value, and these will kind of give you the value that the user types in there. Okay, so I'm gonna do the same for the last one. We're just gonna copy this and paste it here for the date of birth. Okay, which is this one here. So whatever the user types in there, I'm gonna get it and put date of birth there, and then change this to date of birth. So I'll say DOB, let's say date underscore, or let's just maintain, okay, let's just call it DOB, it's fine, DOB. Okay, let's differentiate it with the ID so that people don't confuse that. So let's just call it DOB underscore. Okay, that's the date of birth. And now that we have these, so what I'm gonna do is try to put an let statement just to print out what I have. Okay, so let's print the first name. Okay, and let's try to run this code and see if it can execute in some way. So just go ahead and run it. Okay, so not now. So let's try to type something. Evans, Chikasa, and well, I don't like that. And date of birth, let's just find something random. 05/05/1995. Why not? And when you click on generate username, it just says Evans. So it was able to pick Evans, and then it uses the alert to print an alert on the screen, which just says Evans. So if you come back to your JavaScript code, alert just gets the first name and prints it on the screen. You can also test if it is picking up the last name. So you can just say alert and then pick up the last name, just say last name. And then you can do the same thing for the date of birth as well. We'll change this. This is just one way of testing if your program is able to pick up the values that the user types in. So just go ahead. Let's go for Internet Explorer, and let's run this. We don't need this. Close it. Okay. Let's put in some date of birth. 05/05, let's say in this format, 05/1995, and click there. It says Evans. We expect next to say the surname, Chikasa, and we expect next to say the date of birth, and there you go with the date of birth. So which means we have been able to extract the information from our web page, and we are able to print it out, So now what we need to do is to join these pieces of information. Now, before we join the piece of information, we are told only in the question paper, we are told only to extract from the year. We are only told to extract from the date of birth, just the year. So we only need the year. So how do we extract the year? So this brings in the concept of slicing, okay, or substring, or getting a substring. So ideally what you're supposed to do is to create a variable. Let's call it year. Let's just say year is equal to the date of birth, okay, dot slice, and then specify, not slice, and specify what information you want to slice. So now from the characters that you see from the date of birth, okay, from here you notice that you've got 2 D's, 2 M's, and 4 Y's, and then you've got the slashes in between that. So if you count that starting from 0, so you have 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, okay, so the last slash is or you can count from 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, okay. After the 6th character, then you count what follows. Then this is what you want now, the Y's. So what you're going to do is start counting from the 6th position, so from 0 to 6, and then until you get to the 10th character. So 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So 10th character. So if you start from 0, the 6th character will be Y, and then 10th character will be the last Y. Now, if you do this and then try to put alert, okay, alert, guys, is just helping us trying to check whatever we've done so far to see if it's correct. Otherwise, you don't want to type so many lines of code, and then you don't even know which one is executing, which one is not executing. So I'm just gonna type in just random, pick up random values, and you can see that it picks up 1986 as the year only. Okay, so take note what I've done here is the date of birth dot slice and start from the 6th position. So if you count from 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, and you should have your 4 characters for the date of birth. Now that I have the year, so I can now concatenate the values that I have. So what I have, I want to create the username. So I'll just say username is equal to, first of all, it's the first name plus the last name plus the year. Now, if I perform an alert on the username, just trying to print what I've created so far, just say username, and then just put some semicolon. Every JavaScript statement is supposed to end with a semicolon, but sometimes some of the statements would still execute without the semicolon. But it's important to put a semicolon just for the sake of easy maintenance of your code. Okay, so let's run this Explorer, save it, and let's try to put some information there. And click there. It says Evans Chikasa, and then it puts 1986. But then this is, of course, it's able to extract the username perfectly, but we want the username to be printed below the button. Okay, and so again, we need to direct where the below the button is going to be. So if we go back here, if we click on the button is in line 16. So below the button definitely will be line 17. So in line 17, we're going to create a paragraph tag. And this paragraph tag, we need to label it. We need to give it an identification, an ID. So I'm going to call it this one as display, because that's where I'm going to display the message, and then close the tag. And it's going to be a blank paragraph. Nothing is going to be written inside this paragraph. And I noticed that we have here, if you over, it says tag must have paired tag. So this one is telling you that you have a tag, a closed tag, but you don't have a corresponding open tag. So you can delete this, that's fine. It shouldn't be a problem. So now I've created a paragraph tag immediately, below the generate username button, and the paragraph ID is display. If I go to my JavaScript now, I need to tell JavaScript to say, hey, can you print the username in a paragraph or on a paragraph which is called display, whose ID is display. So I'm going to say something like this: document dot get element by ID, and then specify the ID as display. Okay, and then dot inner HTML, and this is the inner HTML, guys, we were talking about last time, that it is going to allow you to print to a specified location on your document. So in this case, the specified location is where the paragraph display is. Can you add this statement? So what do you want to add? I want to add the username where that statement is. Okay. Now, line 35, guys, is a very important statement. You're saying document.get element by ID. Which ID or which location? Display. What do you want to do? I want to append or to add information to that line. What information? The username. Okay. Now, if I run this now in the browser, Evans Chikasa and this one, and click there, and now you see that Evans Chikasa is actually displayed below the button as the username generated. Okay. Now, guys, this is very important. If you've missed any aspect here, I'm just going to go through once more what I've done. I first of all created a script, okay, to show that this is where my JavaScript code is going to start. So this is the open tag for script and close tag for script. I created a function called user because when you click on this button, username, it has an on-click event, and it is actually calling a function called user, but this function doesn't exist. So whenever you go in an exam and you see a function has been called and yet in the JavaScript it doesn't exist, you have to create that function. So we created a function called user. Then we created variables, 3 variables: first name, last name, date of birth. And the purpose was when a user types in information here, we want to capture whatever they type in and store it in a variable. A variable is just like a temporary storage location where we're going to keep this information, and then, as we are waiting to decide what to do with that information. Okay. So I created 3 variables, and I get the variables from the user, or the values from the user. I use the first one, the ID of the text box, this one. This text box has been given an ID. Its ID is fname. This one is ID is sname, and this one its ID is dob. So now I say fname dot value, which means get in that text box, pick up the value that you find in the text box and store it in first name. Okay, and then also I said there are two methods. You can use this method or you can use the document.getElement by ID. I love the document.getElement by ID because it sounds so fun, so professional, and just so cool. Okay, so document.getElement by ID. What ID? sname. What do you want to do? Get the value and store the value in last name. Also get the date of birth, the value in that text box, store it in date of birth underscore. That's the new date of birth. Then I have now 3 pieces of information captured from here. This one, and this one. Now, what do I do with this information? I've been told that I need to join them. Okay. Now, in joining them, I only need to get the last characters for the year. Okay. So I create a variable called year, and I use the date of birth and slice the date of birth, which means, hey, like a piece of cake, slice and just get a portion so that it can taste like a bride and groom. They don't eat the whole cake when they're about to, that moment before they say kiss the bride. There's that part where they cut the cakes, yeah. So they get the cakes, they just cut chunks. Okay, so this is what we're doing. We're slicing out of the whole text that we have. We're just getting a substring of the text, and then I say get from position 6 to position 10 and store it in here, and then get the username. The username generated is the first name, and notice I'm using the plus sign just to join that. So if the first name joined to the last name, joined to the year, and the year is the one that has been extracted with the 4 characters, and this creates the username and it is stored in username. Then you have document.getElement by ID display. Display is, hey, they said you need to put the information under the button. Okay, you need to print the information under the button. So I went to the button is 916, and then I said, hey, I'm gonna create a paragraph tag in line 16. Paragraph is just where I want to print something. I want to create space for printing something. I identify this paragraph as display to distinguish it from other paragraphs, because you have this paragraph, you have this paragraph, you have this paragraph. How do you know which paragraph you're referring to? So I ID or identify this paragraph and call it display. So that when I go to JavaScript and I say, can you print using the .ini.html, can you print at this specified location display, then the control knows which paragraph I'm referring to, and what should I put on that paragraph? Put the username. And so when I run my code, it's actually put on the username here. Okay. Now, guys, this is very important for you to know. I hope this has been informative. So what I'm gonna do, I'm just gonna, go to break off and go to the next section. So the next section is this one. We're supposed to enter a password for the account. Okay. So let's go to the question paper maybe. So the question paper says the next section is this one. When the submit password button is clicked, the page must be rewritten. Take note here, must be rewritten to display only one of the following messages. So which means whatever is on the page, okay, this is what is on the page. We need to rewrite this page, and it should not display this. It should only display this information. Your password has been set, or your password did not match, and stuff like that. So there's a little trick that we're supposed to do to be able to do that, but I'll show you just in a bit. But this is what is supposed to happen. So what we're going to do, guys, is we're going to create another function. Now, how do we know we're going to create a function? Because when we click on the submit button, just click on the submit button, just close this. If you click on submit button, it takes you to this line where the button was created. So the button name is password, submit password. And then it has got a function, a method, okay, or an event, which is password, okay? And it's saying, hey, it's expecting when you click on this button, it calls this method, or it calls this function called password. But if you go to your JavaScript, do you have this function created? No. we have the function user, but we don't have the function password. So what do? We create a function called password. So function password, and then this function is going to be doing some activity. What will this function be doing? It will get the password and this second password, the first password and second password, compare them. If they match, then it prints them that the password, it gives them a message that the password is matched. And if they don't, then it gives them a message that didn't match. So what do? We need to get the password from the user. How do we do that? We create a variable called pass1, and then we get the password. So again, I will just say this is going to be called I'll use the document.get element by ID. I'm in love with that. Get element by ID, and you specify the ID. It's gonna be password 1. And what am I doing? I'm just getting the value of that. Then I'm gonna copy this and get the second password as well, which is the confirm or re-enter password. So I'm gonna change this to password 2 and change this to password 2. And now we have the 2 passwords. If you want, you can put an alert statement here just to check if your code will be running. So just put pass1, okay, and run your code. If everything is working perfectly, you should see your code display the password. So let's try to put the password here. So I'll just put password as E and password E. If you run it, you see that it displays E, which means it is running perfectly. So let's come back here now. Now, what do? We have the 2 passwords, and they have been stored. One has been stored in pass1, one has been stored in pass2. Now we need to compare these 2 passwords. So I'll say if pass1 is actually the same as pass2, if this is the case, then what should happen? I should print something, okay? Let's just say match, just to tell you that this is matching. And then else, if it's not matching, I'll just say else, just say alert not match. Now this is not the way it's supposed to be in the question paper, but I'm just trying to show you what happens if the passwords are matching or not matching, so that you learn about this. Okay, so let's start with the passwords matching. So E, if you run it, it says match, okay? And then go ahead and change one of them, and it says not match, okay? So this is the way you write your if statement. If, and then don't forget the brackets, these brackets, every conditional statement must be within the brackets, and then you have the operator, logical operation going on. You're comparing the pass1 equal to, now notice the double equal sign. The double equal sign means equality. If you put equal sign here, 1 equal sign, this is assignment, which means you're saying, hey, the value of pass1 becomes becomes the value that is currently for pass2, okay? So now you need to have double sign here. Now, how do we actually print something on the screen? We're told that the printout should rewrite the page. In other words, it should erase what we have on the current web page. It should erase what we currently have here and print out only the information that we've been asked. And the information is your password has been set, your passwords did not match, please try again, okay? So how do we do that? So I'm gonna put, first of all, the alert, the information that we're supposed to print. So I'll say document dot write, and here we go now with the document dot write. And again, if you didn't watch the previous video, I mentioned about the document dot write, and I said in the next video we'll see how it's going to be used. So here, your passwords, your password matched. So just get the exact word. Your password has been set. Okay, your password has been set, and then get the exact word for the other one as well. Your passwords did not match, please try again. So this one, document dot write, and then this one should be document dot write, and it should say your password did not match, please try again. Okay, something like this. Now, what we have done basically is to we're going to print this information on the web page. Now, if we run this right now, let's try to run it and see what happens. I don't want to tell you what happens because I want you to observe what happens on your own. Okay, let's try to put this and this. If you click there, it says your password has been set. Okay, and if you go back, here, let's well, the same page. Let's go. Where are we? Okay, let's refresh this. Let's put different characters, and then it says your password did not match. Okay, and it didn't go back to allow you to change the page. But there is a function in JavaScript actually where you can force the computer to open a different page, more like to erase the previous page that is there. Right now it will still write, I mean it's working perfectly, and you'll be able to get your full marks like this. But you can also use a function where you say something like window dot location, and then you can say replace, and then create a new web page. So maybe I can say new page .html, and then what this does is that it calls a new page .html, and it displays the information, this page on an existing page called new page.html. Right now it cannot do that because this page doesn't exist. So you'd have to go in your root folder where you have your information. Right in here, that's where you're supposed to create the page. Okay, so just go file and do something like new, and then new, create new, and title document, save as, and inside here it will be saved in this. Just call it new page, and then this will be your HTML page. Now the page exists, and when you run your program now, it will actually call this. It will actually print this other information on the new page that you've just created. Okay, so okay, we are running this page, so come here, run this one, say yes, and let's put this one, this one, and call this one, and it prints. It says your page has been set. And if you go back to the original code, this is just running the same way as the previous one, so that should be fine, and you should be able to gain your full marks. But for now, I'm not gonna put this. I'll just leave it as simple as it is, like that. I mean, I'm able to do what I'm supposed to do to erase or to replace the entire web page that is there. Okay, so now what I'm gonna do, guys, let's see how much is remaining. Okay, just go back to the web page, to the question paper. So this is that. So you need to save your web page as account. So I mean, it has already been saved, and there you go with your 20 marks. And the next part of it is just asking you to, you know, basically define what the function is. Not more than 150 words, but they're just key things that you need to know about the function. For example, a function is just, you know, a block of code that is called upon to execute and perform some task. A function may return some value that, you know, you're supposed to use, although our functions right now did not return any value. Okay, here you didn't see any return statement. Usually a function, for it to return a value, just before you close, you can say something like return, something like that, return, and then maybe you can return +1, and so on and so forth. Maybe, so in this case, a function is returning a value. To return a value, which means the function is passing this variable outside the function so that other modules of the system can use it. Okay, that's what it means to return. You can also say that you can call the function by executing its name. So for example, this function can be called by, you know, just calling it by its name, like that in line 23, and it will execute all this code that is found inside that function. You can say a function can receive some values, so you can pass some values inside the brackets. Later on you will see, guys, how we can pass parameters to functions later on. I think we'll encounter some questions maybe that will be asking us to do that, but functions allow you to do that, and so on and so forth, guys. I won't go into detail just to explain so many things about what a function is. Okay. The other thing, guys, that you need to know, it says a string of text has been stored in the variable code word, and then the variable code word actually is just ICT is amazing. So this is the value, and this is what I was talking about, a single equal sign, which means what is on the right side is being stored in what is on the left side. So in other ways, when you print what is in Word, it should print ICT is amazing. Now, we've been told to give the answer that will be extracted for each of the following JavaScript commands. Word.length. Now, the dot length is a substring, or it's a part of, is a function in other ways that counts the number of characters that are found in that string, including the spaces. So in this case, you count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14 characters, and so the number of characters is 14. And then also the next one, word.slice 8,11. Again, 8,11, if you count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So 8 will be starting from this one, amazing. So it will be 11. So you stop at position 11. So you stop here, which is at Z. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, and 11 ends at Z. So you extract the characters MAZ. Okay, so MAZ, that's what you extract when you perform a slicing. And then word.characterAt. CharacterAt tells you, or provides what character do you find at that specific location. So again, CharacterAt, you start counting from from 0. So from 0, so I is 0, C is 1, T is 2, and then space is 3. So CharacterAt index 3 is space, so you put space. And then word.substring 7,7. Again, here you have a substring that you're going to count. So from 7, so you have so the substring starts counting from this one: 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, or 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So the substring start counting from here. So 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and then the 7th one is this one, and then the next character, the next 7 characters after this. So 7, this is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, which means up to G. So substring means the first value 7 is the starting point, and the next value 7 is the number of characters that must be returned. Okay. And there you go, guys. This has been quite a long video, but very useful. I hope you found the explanation helpful, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye bye.